right, ladies and gentlemen, on the guest list today, it's truly an honor. Academy Award winner, all-time dude. We got Jeff Bridges on the podcast today. Jeff Bridges, how are we?
We're good, man.
Oh my God. This is one of those ones you get an email about and you're like, wait, like that Jeff Bridges is going to come on the show? This is awesome.
Jeff, where are you? Where are you right now, Jeff?
I'm in Santa Barbara in my garage where I do a bunch of shit here. And that's me. Where are you guys?
Philadelphia, Miami, and LA.
Yeah.
Oh,
Thousand Oaks. I'm not too far from you.
Great, man.
Wait a minute. So is Jeff Bridges forced to head out to the garage to play music?
It's true, man. I don't know about forced, but it's my spot. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, we just is a pretty new joint for us. We just moved 6 years ago. We got wiped out by a flood. Just wiped we got rescued by helicopters and shit, and we landed in this little place. I got sick, and I ended up having my space in a garage in this rental place we were renting, because he could wheel the hospital beds and all the oxygen and shit in there. And I kind of dug this garage space, man.
Yeah.
I liked this idea. So this is my joy, this is where my stuff.
I wonder how many people on their bucket list would be to just like smoke weed and talk music with Jeff Bridges in the garage. Probably, Kenny right there.
Yeah, man. See, I can't smoke it anymore, man. My lungs, but I'll do some tincture of occasion.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, man. This is a really cool, because we have a lot of modern musicians and everything on, and you get an opportunity like this, and you got to dive right in to talk about this cool project we're here to talk about. And I want you to go over it, but we got the press release ahead of time, and we're talking about a record from 1978 that is getting released for Record Store Day. Jeff, why don't you tell us what this is?
I don't know where to begin, man. This is, let me say, it all started with this guy named Keefus Chancia. Do you guys hip to Benji Hughes?
No, but I'm down to learn.
Jot that down. Benji Hughes, and check out his album called Love Extreme.
Hell yeah.
And this was produced by Keefus. I worked with Keefus on an album that I did with T-Bone Burnett.
Yeah.
And then Keefus and I worked on a thing called Sleeping Tapes. Are you guys hip to that?
I feel like that sounds familiar.
Okay, so check out Sleeping Tapes, and then also check out a video thing called Life is But a Dream, and that's available online. Just put Life is But a Dream, Jeff Bridges. It'll come up. That'll tell you about Sleeping Tapes. And then Keefus, gave me a call one day. He said, "Why don't you come over to this cool studio that I know about and bring all your tunes, and we'll see what happens." So I brought a bunch of stuff, and I brought this cassette from something I did back in the 70s. And I don't think we ever did any of the tunes on that cassette, but Keefus fell in love with these tunes, and without my permission, he sent them to a friend of his, Matt Sullivan, at an outfit called Light in the Attic. And Matt, his organization, like that, specializes in archival kind of tunes. They did, what was that great, Sugar Man? Did you ever see that?
Yeah.
That's all Light in the Attic stuff. And this guy, Matt, dug the thing, and he said, "Yeah, hey, let's make an album." I said, "You're kidding me, man. This is all rough. I wouldn't even say it was demo stuff. It was just stuff that we did back then." And he said, "Oh, yeah, it's so fresh and we're loving it." I said, "Okay." So we put this thing out, and it's coming out in April. And the byproduct of it, for me personally, it has been such a gas, because it's reignited all of these old relationships I had with all these other people and, old friends. And it's really, it's been quite an experience.
Has this this collection of songs been something that you've thought about for the last 50 years of wanting the world to see? Or is this something that since Keefus came around, you were like, okay, maybe sure?
This is something that just pops out. You know, I went through some health issues where I had a lot of downtime, and it's kind of tied into. I completely forgot about these tapes. Never thought about making an album of it or anything. But it's there. I've just recently released something called Emergent Behavior. Mm-hmm. That is the same thing. All these old tunes. I said, I'm 75, man. I'm not going to spend, all this time polishing this shit. This is what I have to offer. I'm just going to put it out,
Dude, that's the best attitude to take. And it's like, there's so many legendary things like the Basement tapes, Bob Dylan and the band.
That's right. And this is kind of like the reverse of it. Usually, there are tunes, the Basement tapes, have some tunes that you are familiar with being all polished. Well, this is like reversing that, putting out the unpolished stuff first. And then if somebody wants to polish it, they can do that. Or maybe I'll want to polish it later. I don't know. But
the whole thing just feels like youth. I don't know how else to put it. I was listening to it. It just sounds like a bunch of friends fucking around, making these cool ass songs. It's just, I can't wait for everybody to hear this. Cause once again, we got the early drop on this and me and Kenny have been texting each other back and forth being like, dude, this shit is awesome. It's nuts.
I think to me, like you were talking about, if somebody wants to polish it, don't touch it. I hear the life in it. I hear almost, it sounds like a garage recording in all the best ways, right? Mm-hmm. Like in all the ways that you want it to be. And like, I've been listening to that song Obnoxious for the last 3 days nonstop. And it's really special. So I'm so grateful that you're letting the world have it,
Oh, thank you, Kenny. Thank you, man.
The cool part about it too is it's like, there's so many kids nowadays that will pay tens of thousands of dollars to get their records to sound like Basement or like garage records. And you just got to do it back in the 70s and it just now has life of its own.
Yeah.
Jeff, does anybody on that record, like especially that period of time in your life, because you put music out your entire life, like there's always been periods of time where you're putting out records. What were you listening to at that time? Because like I hear a lot of like Joe Walsh and Steve Winwood is what I keep texting the group. That's what I hear. What were you listening to at the time?
I was a fan. I'm a fan of both of those guys, but listening back then, gosh, it's such these days now, there's so much shit, and or not shit in a bad sense. There's so much, what do they call it? Content, I guess. Yep. Polite word for it, not only on the music front, but movies and everything. But back in the day, back in the 70s, there was radio. Mm. So everybody was listening to the same stuff. And can you imagine, every day waking up to it, and here's the new Beatle tune, they call it 8 days a week, just, and then Dylan and, the Stones, all of that was just happening. The new shit was so great. And so we were listening and Motown, all of the, and James Brown and, but then there was Captain Beefheart.
Yep.
That side of things. Are you Beefheart fans?
Yeah. Well, we found out about them because the Black Keys, who are friends of ours, are giant Captain Beefheart fans. So they put us onto that.
Yeah. Beefheart. And then as a kid, I used to go to New York and, see this guy standing across from the hotel, the Hilton there, and big Viking guy, with a spear, and he was blind,
horns,
and you'd pass out these little things. I thought, he's a homeless poet or something. I didn't understand. And then I go into a record store and see, look, he's got an album, and there's him on the cover, and who's writing the notes on the back of the album, Leonard Bernstein.
Yeah. Jesus. Yeah.
Saying this guy is the real thing. This guy's name is Moondog. So we were listening to some. Are you hip to Moondog at all?
Dude, I'm getting a lesson right now.
I'm learning a history
lesson. Yeah, I'm just here to learn.
These names you're rattling off are unbelievable.
Yeah, so get into Moondog. T-Bone used a lot of some Moondog in Lebowski. When he did the score for Lebowski, you'll maybe recognize it.
I didn't know T-Bone did Lebowski. Yeah, T-Bone did he did Crazy Heart, right?
He did Crazy Heart, but he was the music supervisor. All those tunes in Lebowski are T-Bone's choice.
Wow.
Sorry, really sorry I'm late. Yeah, Moondog is the shit, Johnny, by the way. I came in right at the right moment because I love
Jeff,
Moondog.
This is our buddy John.
Oh, you know Moondog. Johnny
I mean, not the whole body of his work, but definitely know some of it.
Yeah.
Jeff, you may even know Johnny's dad, John Congos, who was a big musician from the UK back in the
Cool. And all you guys play, I imagine, yeah?
Yep. Yeah. I all played, toured, make records, ton of TV shows.
Oh, great. So you're in a band together?
Not together. We all played in our own bands. I played in a band called AWOL Nation for a lot of years. Johnny plays in a band called Congos with 4 brothers, and their dad is a big famous musician. Colin plays in a band out of Philly. And Dante is our resident restaurateur. And
I DJ. I play other people's music.
Nothing like a band, huh?
Nothing like a band. Nothing like a band.
Jeff, I mean, part of me being so excited about this because I loved Crazy Heart, and watching you embody. Was that basically Chris Christopherson? Like that was like what you were channeling at the time?
Well, I knew Chris, pretty well, and the main direction from Scott Cooper. That was his first movie. He wrote that and directed. That was his first movie. Isn't that incredible? Yeah.
Wow.
Was, you're like the 5th outlaw, that group of Johnny and, Chris, Waylon, Willie, so that was like, I was kind of modeling after those guys. But T-Bone gave a great direction. He said, what we're doing here is we're creating an alternate universe. You don't have to be like anybody. This is like, and that was a nice piece of direction because you didn't want to have to compare, that would have hamstrung me.
I have to thank you too, because I think that movie really helped putting one of my favorite artists on the map, Ryan Bingham.
Oh, isn't he great? Wow.
He's the best. I mean, getting to do Bingham's songs without Bingham even being who Bingham is now, like how much did those songs impact you?
Oh, well, I'll tell you a little story about Ryan. So we're in T-Bone's house and we're working on the tunes with Stephen Bruton, who wrote a lot of the songs, and John Goodwin, who wrote some of the songs, my oldest friend. We go back to the 4th grade. And Scott Cooper, the director, says, I was interviewing this guy to play one of the parts, in the band in the movie, and he said he wrote a song that we might consider, but do you want to hear it? And he's right here, right now. He's doing some wardrobe thing. He said, yeah, coming out. And he comes out and he's got this little cassette. And he says, yeah, this is something that came up last night. I don't know if it's any good. You guys might. And he plays that tune for us, Weary Kind. And we're here, after the first few chords, I'm looking over at T-Bone, and his eyes are rolling up because he said, we got to get the cool song. That's the whole movie. I turned the movie down several times because there wasn't any music to it, And I ran into T-Bone. He said, oh, that's the easy part. We can do that. But he was, concerned about getting that tune. And so when he heard that tune right away, he said, oh, we got our tune now.
Is Ryan Bingham one of those guys that knows how good-looking, talented, all these things that he is, or does he play that kind of humility thing? Is like he just seems like like you're saying, he walked in there kind of like, I've got this tune. Like he knew it was going to be awesome.
It's a combo. He's certainly humble, but he's certainly a magnificent talent, and I think he knows that too. So it's a combo thing going on.
It's always
T-Bone wanted to change the title of the album to the Weary Kind.
Yeah,
I think that's the coolest story ever told on this podcast.
100%, dude.
It's funny because it's always the best ones that are like, oh, I don't know if it's any good. Like
it's a great tune.
I mean, and this all being said, of course, obviously, we can look at your film career, right? Spanning what, like fucking 6 decades at this time? Like you're a legend in your own right in that. But knowing the musical side of you, I always ask this to people who live in two worlds. Would you, looking back on it, if you could wave a wand and have been just straight a rock star who dabbled in film, or been a film star who dabbled in music, would you have flipped those if you could have?
I don't know. You know, as you say that, I think of Jared Leto.
Yeah. No, not Jared Leto. Anyone but Jared Leto.
I just worked with. We're doing Tron, the next installment of Tron.
I can't wait for that.
And that guy, I wasn't too hip to his music, but when I got Google surfing, I said, oh, man.
He's incredible. Incredible, isn't he?
He's living his dream with his brother. He's doing it. How cool. So, I don't know. I feel so lucky just doing it, how it's all fallen down. But I don't know. It'd probably be about a wash, both of those things. I'd still be as anxious and concerned about pulling shit off, either way,
But that's kind of a beautiful thing from your perspective, though. The pressure's off. You can just go enjoy music. You don't have to.
What you would think, man.
Yeah. I was just saying, I don't know if that's ever true, and I'm glad to hear that you're saying it's not true, because I think a lot of us, like musicians, are still kind of thinking, when's my career going to start? That sort of thing. You think that there's some moment where all of a sudden you go, oh, I've arrived. It's all good. So you're saying that feeling of thinking I've still got to keep at it never goes away.
See,
yeah. That polishing the thing. It's some kind of, I don't know if it's a weird rule or something that I've given myself to. You gotta, work till you're anxious. I think there's like a couple of different kinds of people. People who have this thing that you talk about, Johnny. I certainly have an anxiety. My daughter, we play together, and we in this band, the Abiders, that I used to have, and we'd be in the wings, say, what the fuck did we? Why did we do this? Why did we put ourselves in this position? And then you go out on stage, and that evaporates in about 5 seconds, and now you're there and you're having fun,
I think that anxiety is maybe a sense of just more self-awareness in that moment, and you would not want to lose that ever, because that would mean that it's just becoming...
Maybe so, but there's some guys who don't have it. I remember reading an article about this anxiety we're talking about, and the guy was saying he interviewed a guy who had terrible stage fright, and he said, well, describe it. He says, well, my hands get all sweaty, and my stomach kind of gets this tight feeling. I start to sweat all over, and I go, oh, shit, here it comes. And then he interviewed some guy like Bruce Springsteen, and he said, well, describe what it's like. Well, my hands get sweaty, and I get this tight feeling in my stomach, and this excitement comes. I said, here we go, man.
It took me
I think of this line that Harrison Ford has in the Star Wars stuff, where he's the aliens, whoever the bad guys are coming to him, and goes, this is where the fun begins.
Yeah.
And that little tweak that we can do our minds, that's the whole deal. That little just a little adjustment. Boom.
Dante, you know who the only person I don't think gets that feeling is? Liam Gallagher.
Yeah, but he doesn't care.
That's there are certain rock stars.
I was going to say that pressure. It's so cliche to say, but that pressure, so much grows under that type of pressure, and I'm on the backside of my successes, and now I have more anxiety than ever trying to keep up with where I once was. But my biggest song started off with the keys, like you were saying, Jeff. My hands get sweaty, my heart starts pounding. When you're a key player, that's a nightmare, right? And so we would play like Letterman, Leno, all these shows, and it's just me for 15 seconds.
Holy shit.
And at some point, it just was whatever's going to happen, happens. You can handle it. And
it's that little switch that just goes off that makes all. I mentioned Benji Hughes. Do you know Benji Hughes, John? You're late in the conversation. But
no, I don't.
He just performed up here in Santa Barbara, and he is a great example of what you were just talking about, Kenny, of this kind of freedom and not caring, But it's like caring so much that I'm not going to care. So I can't quite get the paradox, but there's definitely a paradox going on with that thing.
There's an interesting psyche with that about, I'm not going to not play it. I have to go out there and play it. So,
well, I think it's detachment doesn't necessarily mean that you don't care. That's what you're saying, Jeff, that it is a paradox, because you have to have this kind of where you're not touching the thing that makes you nervous, but then not in a way that's just saying like, oh, fuck it, I don't care. So that's it's like great paradox of life.
It's like how Jeff said, within 5 seconds, the only place your mind is in that moment. That's it. You're no longer thinking about.
Yeah. I'm reading this book. I just finished it not too long ago called "Who Cares."
Yes, I should have read that.
Basically, I've been working with this theme about willpower. Is willpower an illusion? Do we really have it or not? And I like what this Hitchens, what's his first name?
Christopher.
Christopher said about willpower, and when he was asked, "Do you have willpower?" And he says, "Yes, I have willpower. I have no choice." And that felt kind of right. This idea about, do we really get to choose, or is it all about our DNA, our environment, where we are in this moment, and is life just having its way with us? Period. Mm-hmm. And we think that we can control it. You can choose to hold your breath, but do you get to choose how long you're going to do that? You know what I mean? It's just, it's life seems to have it our way with us,
there seems to be very little evidence for the idea of willpower, and yet there is within us that feeling that there is something, and maybe it's more, right. It's smaller than we expect, but there is a glimmer of it.
Yeah, and we use the P word, paradox. That seems like that's what's going on. So you can have two things that are apparently opposite. One of the things that I've done recently that kind of goes back to this Slow Magic album is something called emergent behavior. And I decided I'm 75. I'm not going to polish all my shit up. I'm not going to have time to do that. I'm just going to release what I got. So I started to release these things. And that title, Emergent Behavior, is kind of, that's kind of what's going on. You can have these two things, oxygen and hydrogen, gases. They come together and emergent behavior happens and they make water. What the fuck is that? You know what I mean? I mean, that's what's kind of going on with us. We have these two completely different things come together and make a third thing that's a surprise. And that gives me a lot of sugar, is that the right word? Just it calms me down when I think about these chaotic times, that it's not about us coming up with the right thing, the magic bullet, that's going to, no, man, that's a done deal. It's either going to happen or not. We don't have too much control about that.
Jeff, I think we all needed this conversation today.
No, so bad. Jeff, speaking of chaotic times, what do you think about the aliens? I got to ask.
The aliens, which ones, Dante?
I want you, dude, you're like, I could sit here and listen to you rattle off stories for 2 hours, but before we got to let you go, I need to get your take on two things: alien situation and the pyramids.
Oh, good. I'm glad you brought those up. There's so many reasons that triggered so many different things. Starman, first of all, those fucking silver balls,
Hell yeah, brother.
We're all looking for a silver ball. But aliens, you mean this idea that the government is going to release all the findings that we've been, I don't know. I mean, I'm looking forward to that right along with the Kennedy stuff, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, let's see what happens. The pyramids. Now, this is interesting shit. Are you guys hip to?
Oh yeah,
dude, I have not stopped reading about it since last week. I cannot get enough about it.
are you hip to? I don't know. Is there been news shit about the pyramid?
The last week. Yeah, the last week.
What is it?
So they just started using LiDAR
chambers they found.
Yeah, they started using
LiDAR. What did they do?
They started using LiDAR technology, which is like sonar, to map underneath the pyramids, and they found like 600-meter tall columns with two rectangular.
Oh, man. See, I don't know. I got to Google that shit when I get off.
Apparently, there's a whole city underneath the pyramids.
But now here, do you guys know about the Coral Castle?
No.
So
Google the Coral Castle.
Damn.
And that's about this little Italian guy back in the 30s or something.
Dante?
He built this giant thing by himself using coral that weighed tons,
Yeah.
And how did he do? We don't know. There's this mysterious stuff, and you guys probably watch all those things on TV about the ancient
aliens,
or all that kind of stuff. Who the fuck knows? I don't know, man. But I'm definitely Googling the pyramid thing. But yeah, something is going on that that we just don't understand. We don't know. Maybe
often referred to as Florida's Stonehenge.
Oh.
Yeah. Check it out. Yeah.
That's crazy. Hey, listen, I hate to do it, but I have a question about slow magic.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Johnny and I are the resident nerds here, audio nerds here. And like I said, listening to that collection of songs, because I don't know if you'd call it a record more than a collection of songs, but it's so live and it's so garage sounding and it's so heartfelt and emotional. I'm just curious, like from a technical standpoint, were there many takes of each song? Did you guys obviously track them live? Was there two mics in the room was there an engineer and a producer? Were you just in the garage with a couple, 8-track, 4-track cassette recorders? Like what was that? What was that?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for me to remember. That was like a long time ago, but what comes in my mind as you ask that question was a lot of it was one take, everyone in the same room, like that Burgess poem,
Yeah.
Isn't that a beautiful poem, man?
Yeah.
And that's just, Burgess saying, hey, can you guys mind backing me up in this poem? Okay, we're all here. Why not? And, because it's kind of reminiscent of the Kong vibe,
Right.
And so that was like that. And some of the other stuff, I can't remember. It might have been, let me put in a couple obnoxious or something like that,
Yeah.
Burgess Meredith was involved in all this.
I think we did it on one of those 4-track TX with the big reels.
That's what I was wondering.
So important. Yeah. So, it's got those big reels,
Yeah. Yeah.
What did Burgess Meredith do in all of this?
What do you mean?
Wasn't he involved in this?
Yeah, big time, man.
What was he? Was he singing or playing? What was he doing?
Well, he has he recites a poem called "Here on This Island" that's quite magnificent, and then he does the Hindenburg type narration in Kong. This song I did.
Yeah,
he's a legend in my neck of the. He's Mick. He's that's.
Oh yeah, but yeah, he's much deeper than Mick. I mean, he turned me on to John Lilly. You know who John Lilly is?
Yeah.
The isolation tanks and all that. We were into that together too.
Really?
Talking about Burgess and Kong, right? Like, I've obviously read the liners, but like, this was peak. This was a good time for you doing that Kong movie and all that stuff. So I guess my question comes from, was this collection of songs done with the intention of starting a band, putting out a record or whatever? Or was it just for fun?
Yeah, it was.
Because obviously you had so much.
It was just having it. It was the music having its way with me. I didn't have much. I can't remember. There was always some kind of intention to realize this stuff. I didn't know to what scope it would be realized. Yeah. I'm looking at the clock, guys. I've got another interview at 11:30.
Yeah. We'll wrap it on this, but Jeff, we can't thank you enough for the time, brother. This is
good hang, guys.
Oh, great.
No, anytime you want to hang, we're around. But everybody, go check out Slow Magic. First off, that's number one. Number two, you have shows too coming up, right?
I'm doing a thing. This is in California. I'm doing some Lebowski screenings. and then then doing a kind of a Q&A thing with my photographs that I took during that,
which are amazing. And Lebowski, the movie that never dies. Your PR company Beechwood are like family friends of mine, so they know,
aren't they good? Yeah.
They know that you always have an open spot anytime you want to talk about anything, man. We love to talk music. That's all we do here.
Thank you, man.
Of course.
Jeff Bridges, the man. Thank you so much, brother.
See you guys later.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jeff.
Bye-bye.